with Fit for Life Radio.
Is that your radio voice, man?
Did you like that? Was that better?
Yeah. It was authentic. I liked it.
It was all right, I guess.
I don't think I have it.
Drew me in.
It's all right, man.
I don't think I have it. Well, we are back, and we are here today with your hosts, me, Gary, and then we have Will and Ben, and we have a guest today to make it more interesting. That's going to be Forrest, the Forrest.
Forrest with 2 R's.
Yeah, with 2 R's. That's right.
Mm-hmm. Forrest with 2 R's, not Gump.
Party.
Yep.
Just my good old friend and friend way longer, and then also one of my first clients as well is Forrest Cory. Say hi to the folks.
Hi. Thanks for having me on.
So we're going to be chopping it up with Forrest. He has a unique, interesting Fit for Life story, going back to tell them kind of what you do now, so your current situation and job and all that fun stuff.
Yeah, no problem. Before I do, though, I kind of feel like I need to weigh in on the I listened to the podcast, the dill pickle conversation. Isn't one of these guys, just independently opposed to dill pickles as a philosophy?
Yes.
Ben, don't, yeah.
Yeah, I just feel like
philosophy.
Right, I feel like I need to weigh in on this because I would eat dill pickles with every meal.
There we go.
I think they're fantastic. I sometimes pull them out of the jar and eat them as snacks, because I have no idea if they're healthy or not. Gary can tell me, but they taste delicious.
It's just vinegar, baby.
I think they're good.
It's just vinegar, yeah.
Right?
I mean,
nutritional value probably limited, but they are wonderful. Wrap them up with some deli meat, and I'm good to go for at least another hour.
If you need like a good salt hit, there's nothing better than a pickle,
on
man.
purpose, like vinegar in the mouth. Like that's the part that I don't.
But.
I think you're just doing it wrong. I think that you just need to get some artesian, something from Whole Foods for $10 for 3. Something obnoxiously.
Not even like a
snobby.
whole pickle. It's just 3 slices. It doesn't even make a whole one.
Yeah, that's exactly right. For $11.99 on sale, I think that's your. You just have a too refined palate. That's what I think. But I'm sorry. I didn't mean to digress. No. I just felt like I had to weigh in on that conversation.
Nah, feel free to weigh
noted.
in, man.
Yeah, no, I appreciate that. I can tell you put a lot of thought into that, from the other podcast, and it won't be taken lightly. I may need to adjust the view.
One day, man, and you know what? You guys, I feel like I've mentioned this in our gym refrigerator. I've had a jar that has 1 pickle left in it that I left for the one day that maybe Ben thinks that he might want to try a pickle.
There it is.
And it has been there for at least, I'm going to say 2 years that it's been there. And
that's the beauty about pickles, right? It's still good.
Yeah, it's just sitting in vinegar. It's going to be good for another 10 years. So,
nuclear holocaust, and I'm good, and Ben is absolutely just out of luck.
Yeah, right. You're right.
Exactly.
I'm eating the radiated meat and just.
Yeah, but we got our pickles, baby.
Yep.
Yeah.
Good.
So in case he ever decides to do it, or gets drunk enough to his inhibitions are low enough that he wants to try it. Then I got him.
That's good, but we're going to have to find a happy medium because we need him to remember it. So drunk enough that he'll try it, but not so drunk that he won't remember it.
Yeah.
I do have I've never done that before, phase during
Right, we can
during my
experiment.
that I do remember. Yeah, exactly. That is a quality.
I've never tried that before.
That's it.
Now I know that. Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Okay, good. All right. Now that we've settled that, at least we've got a plan of action in place. We can move forward with some more applicable details about my life. So I've known Gary, like he said, forever, but currently I live in Wake Forest, North Carolina, right outside of Raleigh, and I am an fitness equipment sales rep, for Life Fitness and Hammer Strength. So I travel around the Carolinas selling gym equipment to the gyms, PT studios, YMCAs in the area, which is a fun gig. Which keeps me in the fitness industry, which I appreciate. I like to work out in gyms. I'm a very avid mountain biker. Got a beautiful wife, Megan, and 2 little maniacs, little Forrest 4.0, the fourth, who's 5, and Haven is our almost 3-year-old that keeps us on our toes. So doing the weekend warrior, or sometimes midweek warrior, as I'm actively training for a mountain bike race and trying to keep everything in balance.
Right on.
Awesome.
So, and then also before the two munchkins, you were a professional baseball player for a while, right?
Right, yeah. So, I mean, obviously played baseball all the way through high school, played at the College of William and Mary for a couple of years, about 3 years there, and then was fortunate enough to sign professionally with the Arizona Diamondbacks back in, oh gracious, Gary, how was that 2006 maybe, 2007, something like that. Yeah, and then played 4 years of pro ball, just banged around the minor leagues with a lefty pitcher. Got up to Double-A, for those that are familiar with the intricacies of the minor league system. But that career went up, and then it promptly went down, and then quote unquote retired at the age of 26, if you call it that.
There you go.
The ripe age of 26.
That's it. Yeah, I rode off into the sunset with my spikes slung over my shoulder, with my travel check of $700 to get me back home to Newport News, Virginia, as my severance package. Thanks. Thanks, guys.
They just cut you loose, man.
That's it, man. They said, thanks, you are free.
But isn't like 26 about like the time where actually maybe, I don't even know if pro athletes usually even make it to that, like the average age?
Yeah, I mean,
all things on the sport.
Yeah, especially in baseball, all things being equal, you're going to get a couple of years to kind of make or break your career. Most guys start, unless they're a high school guy that signed out of high school, I mean, most guys start in their early 20s.
Yeah.
If they have any success at all in the lower levels, they'll move them up. And, if they've got a few $1 million invested in you, you'll get a few extra years to figure it out. They had a little bit, just a touch less than that invested in me. So I don't know if I got as many second chances as some of the other guys, but that's all good. I feel like I maximized my potential. Honestly, I do. I don't know that I was quite major league skill level available there, but definitely gave it a good shot, gave it a good run. But as you kind of get into your late 20s, you crest over that 30-year-old mark, you see guys that really are either going to be career minor leaguers, or they're going to walk away from the game, because you kind of know at that point if you're going to make it. And that really kind of happens in the late 20s to that 30-year mark, give or take.
Got it. All right.
So talk now, obviously, training as a professional athlete and exercise is just part of your job. So it's something you do and you're super committed to. Now talk about how, I know one thing, not that you've struggled with, but I think this is for anyone, whether they were a professional athlete or not, as you go from when you were younger, more in your peak, so to speak, to then transitioning to as you get older, how you have to balance it. How's that been for you from when you went from training and your job was basically in the off season to just focus on everything with that, to now, you have a couple kids, you have a job where you travel a lot, you can't do the things because you can't commit the time to the training that you used to be able to do. Has that been a transition for you?
Yeah, no, it definitely has. I'll a couple different ways I could address that question. But first, I just miss my 20s in general for a lot of reasons, but especially from the training side of it, man. When I was training with you and I was either a college or minor league baseball player, it was literally part of my job. So you prioritize it, you schedule it, and other things move around it, right? Like that is part of what you need to be an athlete. So I had my set training days, and then we used to do like heavy deadlifts and heavy squats on the same day just because we could. Like, do you remember that? It was just like, I feel good. Why not just squat heavy after deadlifting heavy if my body wants to do it?
I remember that, dude.
Yeah,
that shit doesn't fly anymore.
It does not. It absolutely does not fly anymore. So there's a piece of that where we would have strength seasons in our training off season where we would deadlift heavy, squat heavy, max out on these things in the name of building strength so that I'm better prepared for the next off season or the next in season, excuse me. And that mentality was so ingrained in me that when the career kind of came to a close, I just kept training that way. That's just what I did. I enjoyed it for the most part, but again, slowly getting older and slowly different requirements on my time between getting a real job and then getting married and having kids. Again, you can't exactly prioritize 4 workouts a week every single week above all else. So I found myself training super hard like I always used to train, but then maybe not doing it frequently or not being able to reach the same quote unquote benchmarks that I used to be able to. And that was frustrating, and Gary, you and I have had a couple of conversations about this over the years where just mentally I know that I shouldn't try to deadlift 450 like I used to be able to and stuff. And every now and then I still try to, and I just pay for it. Like I just a week later still feel that session and can't do other things that I want to do. Most tangibly on the fitness side is I've adopted mountain biking as a really fun hobby, passion of mine over the last 5 years. And I can literally remember mountain bike rides where I would be unhappy because I was so sore from trying to squat whatever I tried to squat 3 days before, and just being mad at myself as I'm climbing up this mountain because I feel still sore from this work. So it was just a long, slow process trying to assess that, be realistic with myself, and then and slowly adjust what my training looked like so that it kind of fit my new lifestyle better. And it took years, honestly, a couple of years to get to kind of the situation that I've gotten to now, which is a little bit of a better balance and actually kind of swung a completely different direction. So
what does it look like now? Versus you used to train 4 hard days a week and you felt great and you're probably the strongest you've ever been. So with the mountain biking, what is your typical week look like in terms of your mountain biking versus your strength training?
So I'm going to answer that question 6 months ago. I'm in the middle of training for a really strenuous mountain bike. Right now it's 4 rides a week and 1 day in the gym. That's it. Okay. But that's purposefully because of the nature of the race that I have in May. So I'm going to answer that question back in mid-2017 when I started to consciously make some changes. And what I found that worked best for me is, I'm riding 2 to 3 times a week, on my bike, and that's, anywhere from 1 hour to maybe 3 hours on the bike, depending upon time. And I consciously had to force myself to only go to the gym and lift weights twice a week.
Okay.
And it was a total body strength day, so I'll do some form of deadlifts or front squats, and a push exercise, a pull exercise, and then some mobility stuff back extensions and glute ham bridges, things that are going to help with core strength, which directly of all the things I do, that directly translated into a better experience on the bike. And I was happier because I wasn't sore and my core was better posture for a long ride. And then the second day in the gym would have been more kind of explosive total body stuff, be it maybe thrusters or possibly a modified version of a clean and jerk. I mean, there was a time when I was dabbling in the Olympic lifts. Thank you CrossFit for making that look sexy and cool. And again, same kind of conversation. I'm like, Gary, dude, my wrists, my shoulders don't feel great. I'm not sure if my technique is just that garbage, or if I'm doing something wrong. And he, talking with Gary about it, he's like, man, you got really long, goofy arms, and you're probably not built for power cleans. I'm like, but I like them. They look cool.
Man, they're so tempting to dive into, explore. Yeah, but the actual efficiency of that exercise and what you get out of it. Yeah, I mean, especially when you're training that hard, the other avenue, going mountain biking, doing what you're doing. Yeah, I definitely fall into that trap a decent amount. And
again, so, I mean, that conversation with Gary was probably, 6 to 12 months ago, where I just cut those Olympic lifts out. So squats, deadlifts, and some sort of push-pull are still in there, but anything bumper plate, hang clean, power clean, clean and jerk, all of that stuff. I was doing those with some consistency maybe a year ago, and they're just not for me overall. I'm not built that way. I don't have, monster strong joints and hip mobility and things like that. So that was another conscious change that I had to make, where I thought I was heading in the right direction, and then all of a sudden found myself, with weird shoulder pain, and I don't remember even injuring my shoulder in a move. It just didn't feel good anymore. So it's been a little bit of trial and error, and a little bit of just finding out what works, and then slowly forcing myself to give up things that I thought I liked or thought I should be doing in the name of doing what makes my body actually feel good. Which sounds super obvious, but we're stubborn people, right? And I just thought I knew better than I did for myself, and had to continue to fine-tune it, based on how my body felt, not what I thought would work.
Yeah, I think that's a great thing to touch on is exercise selection, right? And most people don't realize, fitness, the sport of fitness is also a sport like anything else. You can attest to this with baseball and even sports like swimming, or even a better example, like a lot of the Olympic sports, to where the people you see at the top, a lot of times it's attrition, right? Like they were able to make it through the demands of the sport, right? Like they might not have even been someone, everyone works hard for the most part to get to a certain level. But for example, like most swimmers are tall and lanky because that's the body type that lends itself to swimming, right? Whereas, with Olympic lifting, same thing, like to have those joints that can handle it. And like you look at something like a clean, that extension of the wrist is like just not natural. And then under the load of the weight as you get better at it. So what we do at Coastal and with most of our clients is, we try to pick exercises that the risk-reward balance makes sense, right? And even for someone like you, right, who mountain bikes all the time, your wrists are an extension a ton while you're mountain biking. So it's just taking all that into consideration. And then it's the benefits. Like the benefit of a power clean of an Olympic lift is the explosive nature. But they found that like doing a trap bar deadlift or a trap bar deadlift jump literally works just as well for working that, explosiveness. Like they can't really find a difference. So working that quality, you can do it another way almost as good. So then it comes down to just like, hey, the benefit you're getting from doing cleans is getting better at doing cleans.
Yep. Yeah, it's getting better at your sport.
Yeah. So then if you're a sport like power lift or Olympic lifting or CrossFit that you need to do cleans, then it's getting better at your sport, right? But then you have to at some point realize, well, I want to do these hobbies, or I'm an everyday person trying to get fit, and it's like risk reward, So, and that's a hard thing to do sometimes because, like you said, they are cool, or you do see a video on Instagram or whatever and decide you want to dive into doing that. But what you never see is, well, what about when people get injured or the pain they're going through and all that, Just like someone could watch you playing baseball and be like, that's awesome, but they don't know like the shoulder issues and the torn lats and all that from throwing the baseball. Like no one's thinking about that when they're watching highlights on ESPN and stuff, So I thought about this the other day when you see a guy get whacked in football and he's out cold. Think about how much it goes to commercial break, right? And you're just, whatever. But dude, that's a human being. Like that's someone's kid. Like, and they're laying there concussed, and it's just crazy when you think about it. Like we see the glory and the touchdown dances, but no one wants to see all the negatives. And in a way, it's the same way with fitness.
Yep.
So yeah, and I know when you called, you were talking about your wrists, and I'd even told you before when you started asking about the power cleans. I'm like, well, there's risk reward, So.
Yeah, you were right, and I completely ignored you.
Hey, but you know what? Like, that's the way it pretty much works. Most clients, like, they definitely listen and appreciate, but then it normally takes, just like anything else, I'm sure as being a dad, you're learning this with your kids. Like, so sometimes you just got to make the mistakes on your own to learn. So
yeah, I think that's how it is. Like, as human beings, like,
that's everybody.
You can tell anybody anything, but like a lot of times you got to learn. Like you learn for yourself why, and you got to feel it in order to kind of actually come around to it, rather than just like, oh, don't do that, and you're like, well, why? Why?
No, it's exactly my experience. You mentioned something that I wanted to comment on though, because I did listen to you regarding the recommendation to do the trap bar deadlifts more often than just straight bar deadlifts. And that's been a lifesaver and something full disclosure, I still do straight bar deadlifts sometimes when I just cannot get over the urge to just do a traditional deadlift. But more often than not, I opt for that trap bar deadlift. It's such a better posture, so much easier to maximize the benefits of the lift without exposing your lower back to potential injury. So that was an awesome recommendation that I didn't know about previously. I knew what that thing was, but you look at dudes in the gym that just do shrugs with that piece of equipment instead of actual deadlifts. So it was an awesome recommendation that I actually did implement and did listen for a change. that has really paid off, because again, you just don't feel quite as wrecked even if you do go a little bit heavier with a lift like that, because I just find it easier to maintain better posture, especially in the core and lower back.
Yeah, and that's what matters, though. Especially if you're doing other things, right?
Yeah.
You're not just doing the gym. Like, you have to be good for your mountain biking and just being a dad and all this stuff. And like, is there anything inherently wrong with a straight bar deadlift? Nah, but it's usually a little more stressful. It's a little harder for your average person to get in the position. The risk is higher than a trap bar, so you adjust. And like, that's what everybody has to do. Assess, like, is it worth it to do this, or is there another alternative that's going to be way better for like the rest of my life? So that's, with anything, if you have anything outside of the gym, like, it's something to take into consideration.
Yeah, and even and again, like, it comes down to knowing your sport, right? Like, if you're a power lifter, like, then you have to straight bar deadlift. Like, that's your sport,
Absolutely.
But the funny thing is, people get so holed up in like dogma that they miss stuff. And like, one of the examples, like we were talking about the trap bar jump, like, there's, by hooking people up to stuff and doing studies, like, it's been proven to find, like, doing a trap bar jump increases explosiveness more than Olympic lifts, more than power cleans, So,
well, it's because it's such a low barrier to entry. There's I can say no skill, but the skill to do a trap bar jump is so much lower, so you can just get right to business.
Well, there's that, and then the way the weight is on your side, or the center mass of your body,
Yep.
And then it's just much more, I guess, unique in that regard to where it transfers over. But so it really like, for example, if I had an athlete who's like, my goal is to increase explosive power, like, I would actually choose option one would be trap bar jumps over a power clean, right? So in Joe DeFranco, who trains football players, then this takes it even further. Like, it makes even more sense, because if he has a wide receiver who literally makes millions of dollars because of his hands, and you can't risk then doing a power clean hurting his wrists,
Right. Yep.
Like, so same thing with a baseball player, So it's just really understanding all those things and dynamics, and not just, going off of emotion and seeing something cool and then jumping to it, So,
Yep.
Which, which, like, even you changing and gradually changing, most people don't even do that. So that's, pat yourself on the back. And the thing is, like, we've all been there, like, I used to straight bar deadlift, like, all the time, and like, it was my life depended on it, and that's all that mattered. And then I would get hurt or feel beat up, and then when I switched to trap bar, I felt better. So like, most of what we teach people is because we're trying to avoid what we've already learned,
Yep.
So.
And I feel like the world is getting smarter about this. I mean, in the industry that I am, I mean, I work with club operators and gym studio owners all the time, and every single one of them is having conversations with me about how they can, create these, functional training, small group training, Olympic lifting. Some of them even call them, CrossFit spaces, which is funny because it's this weird, like, ambiguous world that they use those words that I just said kind of interchangeably to mean the exact same thing. And you really have to kind of dig through, how do you actually want your trainers to train? How are they currently training? What kind of things and what kind of clients do you currently have, and where do you want to take, your personal training, focus? And if you want to start a small group training, type of program, I mean, we can sell them racks and rigs, and we can literally outfit the exact kind of thing that you would find in a CrossFit box. No problem. We can do that. But understand something, that is astronomically different than if you're looking for, a boutique studio room that has TRX straps, heart rate sensors like a company like MyZone, and 5 rowers. And that's a whole, I mean, again, my customers are talking to me about that stuff as if they're the same thing sometimes. And I'm like, we got to really take a step back and actually analyze what the goal is.
Yeah, what do you really want?
Yeah, well, I mean, if you're a hardcore gym and you want to get in racks and rigs with, 400-pound deadlifters going, great, let's do that. But make sure that's what you want, compared to, are we trying to really focus on and compete with what has gotten so popular on the other side of the spectrum, call it, like your facility area or your guys' facility, or maybe, more commercially, worldwide, like Orange Theory or something like that.
If you know me, you know I'm always on the run, up early and home late, so having a 3-hour morning routine isn't really in the cards for me. What is in the cards is AG1. It's a fast way to get vitamins and minerals I need to perform. I first gave AG1 a try because I wanted a single solution that helps support my entire body by filling in nutrient gaps and simplifying my morning routine. Since drinking AG1 daily, I've always felt strong and energized and ready to attack the day. Not only does AG1 deliver my daily dose of vitamins, minerals, pre- and probiotics, and more, it's a powerful, healthy habit that's also powerfully simple. It's one scoop mixed in water once a day and every day. I know that AG1 is giving my body high-quality nutrition. Every batch of AG1 goes through a rigorous testing process, so you know that it's safe. And AG1 ingredients are sourced for absorption, potency, and nutrition density. AG1 is a supplement that I trust to provide the support my body needs daily, and that's why I'm excited to welcome them as a new partner. Here is your chance to start every day this season with a gift to yourself. Try AG1 and get a free 1-year supply of vitamin D3K2 and 5 free AG1 travel packs with your first purchase exclusively at drinkag1.com/provengrit. That's drinkag1.com/provengrit. Check it out. If you know me, you know I'm always on the run, up early and home late, so having a 3-hour morning routine isn't really in the cards for me. What is in the cards is AG1. It's a fast way to get vitamins and minerals I need to perform. I first gave AG1 a try because I wanted a single solution that helps support my entire body by filling in nutrient gaps and simplifying my morning routine. Since drinking AG1 daily, I've always felt strong and energized and ready to attack the day. Not only does AG1 deliver my daily dose of vitamins, minerals, pre- and probiotics, and more, it's a powerful, healthy habit that's also powerfully simple. It's one scoop mixed in water once a day and every day. I know that AG1 is giving my body high-quality nutrition. Every batch of AG1 goes through a rigorous testing process, so you know that it's safe. And AG1 ingredients are sourced for absorption, potency, and nutrition density. AG1 is a supplement that I trust to provide the support my body needs daily, and that's why I'm excited to welcome them as a new partner. Here is your chance to start every day this season with a gift to yourself. Try AG1 and get a free 1-year supply of vitamin D3K2 and 5 free AG1 travel packs with your first purchase exclusively at drinkag1.com/provengrit. That's drinkag1.com/provengrit. Check it out.
I mean, those are just different philosophies, and there's still a lot of ambiguity in the industry that I work in the fitness industry, about, how do we differentiate? What's my personal business model and plan, and what do my clients actually want? Because clients will come in and say, yeah, I just watched, CrossFit, and I want to do CrossFit. They might not actually mean hang cleans. They might very well mean functional training with TRX straps. It's just, It's hard to sift through all of that. I don't know how you guys work through that on your side with your clients, but I know for me and my customers, I have that conversation 5 times a week minimum.
Yeah, that's pretty much every strategy session of, are you guys like CrossFit?
We just strong arm people into what we do.
Right.
That's it.
I support that message.
We just put them in a headlock and just make them do what we do.
Yeah.
Well, and like Ben said, that's the problem, right? Like everyone's like, "Are you like CrossFit?" But to one person asking that question, if they legit know what CrossFit,
what do you mean?
We gotta talk. Like, what do you
take a step back.
What do you know about CrossFit? Yeah.
Then they will be super disappointed because we're not, right? Like you're not going to be doing the WODs and the Olympic lifting. But then in the same token, you could get a person who asks, "Are you like CrossFit?" And to them, CrossFit just means not Globo Gym.
Yeah, like group training with some functional type fitness.
Yeah, like pushing a sled is CrossFit.
Yeah.
So it's like
it's like a loaded question. Like it can mean anything.
And functional is another word that has been basically completely changed, so where you can have any definition of that.
Oh yeah, 100%.
You're right,
Are you
though.
functional training? It's like, okay, what do you mean, like just dumbbell up and down functional training, or like, using like maces to do rotation? Like functional training has a
like
wide
how functional are we
spectrum.
talking here?
Yeah, like direct relation to your life, or you still want to build some muscle?
Yeah.
Yes, we are not a bar studio, but
exactly.
we are also not a CrossFit bar. And again, when they say CrossFit, they could literally just mean small community-based fitness, right?
Exactly.
Like that's the best thing regardless of what your opinion on the training philosophies of CrossFit are, the best thing that CrossFit did was kind of packaged and bottled and then executed community, competitive, group atmosphere fitness that people enjoy doing. Enjoy being the operative word there probably for CrossFit, but they did a fantastic job of building that community and making it intricate. And I mean, I don't know that there was many people doing that before CrossFit kind of became mainstream, and they did an excellent job of creating some very passionate folks that want to be part of that community. And I think that can be learned and translated into other areas of fitness. Call it functional fitness or small group training or boutique fitness, whatever you want to call it.
Yeah, I mean that's what we do.
Yeah, well, that's kind of what I mean. Exactly.
Yeah, that's definitely the trend. That's the best takeaway, that we've got in that model. I think the important thing, like what we do, like how we differentiate ourselves, is focusing on, like we focus more on that we're a coaching program. The full accountability and like because you have Orange Theory and stuff who focuses so much on their workout,
right.
Like you
and
burn
the calories
and the burn, and it's about the workout, and our workout's unique and yada yada yada. Where we have actually found it's better, like that most people, or at least the type of client that fits with us, like they don't care about the details of the workout, They just care more, about that community and being consistent and the outcome that they want, So we focus more on that we're a coaching program, and we help you, get this result, and that's where we kind of like stay in that lane.
Yep.
So, and that's what most of these gyms need to do. Like CrossFit is, I would say first and foremost, performance, nowadays. Like most people who specifically are like, I want to do CrossFit, like they understand, like they've seen CrossFit games, they want to get good at CrossFit, and like that's what they want, So, which is different, and everything's interchangeable too, because obviously by doing that, you can get fitter and lose weight and all that. But basically, what we've done is like flipped it, right? Like our main thing is, well, do you want to get more fit, lose weight, stuff like that? Like that's priority number one, So,
and you probably have to be careful not to assume that that's everybody's goal. Like I'm sure that's a secondary goal for some folks that want to do CrossFit compared to a person that would walk into your facility and say that they want to get in better shape, right? But there might be also the same clientele base that really does want to learn the proper way to deadlift, power clean, and hang clean. And
for sure.
That's probably not y'all's wheelhouse compared to where that might make a lot of sense to go to either a CrossFit box or, man, there's even like literally specific like Olympic training centers now that aren't just for like pro athletes. They're literally for folks that want to go to a gym and work with maybe a trainer or maybe a group of guys, and the entire small facility is full of power racks and deadlift platforms. Like that's the entire thing.
Yep.
And it's designed to focus on teaching and then executing Olympic lifts without the WOD, right? And it's crazy how like the industry has really evolved and morphed and has gotten so just focused and niche and refined that if you don't know what you want, I would imagine it's pretty challenging to the average Globo gym goer who wants to get a little bit more. Not that you can't get that at a Globo gym, but again, that's where the boutique type studios really filled a gap in the market that wasn't really being filled 5 years ago, when all you had was a general membership and personal training, or like body pump group fitness. Like this other niche, the small group training, that didn't exist or hardly existed 5 years ago. It's really incredible how it's developed over the last couple of years, and now how many millions of choices that you have. It's created a completely different dynamic. Again, for my club operators that are looking at the millennial who's literally spending $150 a month for a couple of weeks at a CrossFit box, then they're going to go to a boutique spin studio and spend another $150 a month there for a month and a half, 2 months, and then they're going to go to Coastal and spend whatever you guys charge, $100, $200 a month just for, and those are crazy dollars where that same gym operator is struggling to get $30 a month. It's an interesting dynamic that some folks do well and some folks just are trying to figure out how to do that.
Yeah, and the biggest thing that I've seen, because I've worked at every type of gym, every price point, is ultimately, it sounds hokey, but the money is a big part of it, of the investment in the person, right? Like if someone spends $30 a month, it's not a big enough investment for them to then show up, right? Like, I'm not going to. So the reason that these $150 to $200 price points work is because people, like 99% of our people, show up consistently.
Right.
So and part of that's because of the price, right?
Yep.
Like we could throw in whatever equipment, whatever, and if we were $50 a month, we would have, I guarantee you, with nothing else changed, our attendance would be way worse.
Yep.
It's as simple as that, right? So it's funny, while these gyms are trying to scratch their head that are cheaper, that's what they're not realizing and getting, is that like the higher price point gets a certain type of person, and it's actually better for them, if they want to actually show up and stuff. So that's the funny thing is sometimes it's not even the value of the actual product. It's just the fact that paying more,
how much you're invested in it.
So and then like you said, and back to the niche thing, that's what's great, right? And if you know who you are, then it's awesome. Like if we get someone who wants CrossFit, dude, we have no problem referring them to the CrossFit.
Go down the street to CrossFit OP, man.
Yeah, if they're like, I just want to work out, cool, we'll refer you to the Globo gym. If you don't want all this extra accountability, then like, dude, you just go to Planet Fitness. Sure. That's cool. So it's just understanding, I think, for the consumer, like, know what you want and what you need. Like, do you need to invest more to actually show up? Then find a place like that. Do you want to, do powerlifting or Olympic lifting or CrossFit, or then go to a specific place for that, you know? And here's the thing, it can all work, right? Because, like drugstores, there's like 3 on every corner, so, but what it does is it makes the best of each niche, like, is going to rise to the top, So, yeah. And Forrest, like when you work with the big Globo gyms, like that's what they struggle with, right? Whenever kind of a new thing comes out, they try to create their version of it, but they're still doing like 5 different things.
Yeah, and that's the conversation that I try to have with them. It's like, listen, you really can't be all things to all people, and you certainly can't compete with everybody on everything. Like, especially for the regular Globo gym, where Planet Fitness on the low cost, high volume market, that changed the game in a humongous way, right? Like to be able to charge $10 a month and be profitable and successful and grow the way they have. So they've got pressure on that end. So do I try to compete that way and try to, beat Planet Fitness at their game? Or do I try to diversify and offer multiple things, because Planet Fitness doesn't do like much in the way of personal training or group classes or services and training, all that. So they kind of punt that. So then the club operator has to sit down and go, do we want to then offer more classes and more training options and more of these things? And they find themselves trying to do everything all at once, right? And so you really kind of have to sit down with them and ask them to really focus on what you think you do best, what you think you can do better, and pick like 1 or 2 of them, right? You kind of have to kind of go one direction or the other, because you can't simultaneously try to, beat Planet Fitness at their game and also beat Orange Theory at their game. It's going to be really challenging to do that. I mean, I suppose it could be done if your systems are flawless, but that's not normally the case, right?
But more often than not, though, you're not. Like, you can't invest everything into both.
Right.
Or 3 things. Like, it just doesn't work.
Exactly. Yeah, and that's what we end up trying to walk, our customers through, is just to say, hey, let's think about, what space we have, because that's the other issue. It's literally physical space from these clubs that used to be crammed full of, treadmills and selectorized equipment. Now is trying to, pull out equipment or convert a racquetball, court, or even basketball courts are going away in the name of these like training spaces so that they can cater better to and kind of combat, we call it the boutique effect, right? Like when these smaller facilities that are boutique facilities are taking their members and things like that. They really have to figure out what the best way to do that is. And then, they have the benefit of their existing customer base, and then to try to create the value on that. And so then it's up to that exerciser to go, okay, I do like having a gym membership, but do I get the full effect of the small group training program that I'm looking for with a big box gym? And so again, some big box gyms do a great job of it, and others don't. And so that's really where it comes back on the exerciser, the member, to really be honest with themselves about how much time they have to invest, how much money they have, or what to invest, and then what their ultimate goals are. With their fitness goals and training goals.
Yep. I think like a lot of what like the bigger gyms probably run into, like when trying to keep up with the Joneses, like having the program that's like Orange Theory or like CrossFit or whatever, or the small group training, is that thinking that people only like want like that training methodology or that class and that's enough. But like a lot of what people want is like the community and the coaches who care and the actual good coaching. And it's not just the modality itself. It's a lot of things that come along with it, with that smaller like boutique style gym. Like that is part of the package rather than just, oh, we need a class where we can, monitor heart rates. All right, well, maybe that's not exactly, the full picture, and trying to keep up. Like I think some of that's lost in translation, that's also, what people want on top of just that class.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. I think the bigger gyms overlook. I mean, I know I can hands down say the biggest difference for us is the quality of our coaches, but we invest more in our coaches and in making it a job that they want, so, to brag on Ben and Will, it's the best coaching in the area. And, I think a lot of these bigger, gyms and companies, they try to really look at staffing as just a completely system, and they can plug and play with anyone, any person.
And different facilities do, good jobs of that and poor jobs of that. Again, as we try to consult with our customers, that's the other thing that I'll say. I mean, shameless plug, Life Fitness, the company I work for, does an incredible job of offering every possible version of the equipment that you would need to implement one of these programs. Again, racks and rigs or, TRX solutions, whatever you need, we can do that for you. We got you covered. Yeah. But again, I try to be honest with my customers and say, hey, listen, I am literally at most only 50% of this equation. And the other 50% is going to be the programming and the actual physical trainers that you're hiring to run this program for you. I was like, it can make or break you. 100%. You can put the best equipment, the most expensive stuff that I sell, and still, without the other side of the program, and with that, both the intentionality of the trainers as well as the quality of the programming. I mean, those aren't exact. I mean, they're close to each other, but they're not the exact same thing. You can have a great trainer in a bad system, and end up with just some really excited trainers, but some really unmotivated participants, right? Or you could have fantastic systems, but mediocre trainers. And so, even though the program might be effective, the folks aren't going to love the community and then not be as excited to keep coming back. So it's kind of a three-pronged approach where I really feel like the equipment that I provide is only at most 50% of the equation.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, and that's why if you see a gym who opens up who's trying to cater to everybody, but they don't quite get one, what they're actually trying to do, or two, the true things that you have to do, you're going to flounder. It doesn't matter how new your equipment is or how many services you offer. Mm-hmm. What really matters is, one, do you get results? And two, are you a place where people want to come and actually spend their time?
Yeah.
And if you're not, then people aren't going to do it, regardless of how shiny your place is.
And I would imagine the biggest challenge, and maybe Gary, you can, having been a former traditional club operator, I mean, you could probably speak to this better than even I can, but I imagine the challenge is being willing to say, no, I'm not going to try to compete in that way. I'm not going to try to be all things to all people. You have to literally be willing to say, nope, we're going to give those members away because we're not going to offer group cycle. Or, nope, the heavy lifter, I cannot, they can lift here if they want, but I'm not the right fit. So you got to be willing to be able to say, nope, that percentage of members needs to go somewhere else. And I would imagine that's challenging when you're trying to grow your business as fast and as efficiently as you can.
Dude.
Remember when we used to get, is this jazzercise?
Yeah,
you're darn right it is.
Yeah.
Yeah, it can be if you want it to be.
Yeah, we can try for you.
But no, dude, that's a really good point though. If you aren't willing to say no to have your standard or whatever it may be, then you're reaching for money and not having your true purpose. And I think that's where some places go wrong too. You want everybody and you're afraid to say no because you don't want to miss out on that money and that person, rather than, hey, this is what we do. If it's not what you want to do, then I'll refer you out to X place. And I think that comes with having kind of a set of values and what you want your gym to be.
And it's interesting, on the other end of the spectrum, I tell people all the time, honestly, Planet Fitness did that better than anybody that I've ever seen do it. They looked at the market, they identified the low-cost model, and I guess the biggest gamble that they made was if we offer the best, shiniest, nicest facilities with the nicest equipment, but with not a lot else in terms of services, and we make the the price point low enough, we're going to get enough members to make this thing work. And man, they have never. They were so right. It's unbelievable how they exposed a portion of the market that hadn't been adequately targeted yet. And so, yeah, I say this all the time. I think the Planet Fitness business model should be taught in every MBA program in the United States because
It's genius, man.
It's unreal how well they did it. But they literally punted 75% of the gym industry. They were like 75% of this stuff. We're not going to do it, but we're going to do 25% better than anybody. And then of course they did. And kudos to them. I mean, that is an incredible gamble and one that paid off, incredibly for them and whoever had that vision because they did an excellent job and did it, that portion of the market they did better than anybody.
They gambled on a whole bunch of people not showing up to what they paid for. And they did a great job. Do I think it's good? No, I think it's kind of like predatory, but like it was genius. They did an amazing job of exploiting the fact that people pay for crap and don't show up, but won't cancel their subscription because it's only $10.
Yeah, that's what they found was that break point of what will people pay and not use it. Because, Forrest, you know this, like the average Planet Fitness needs about 10,000 members, right? And typically, isn't that about right?
Yeah, it's in that range for sure.
And their show-up rate is about 10 to 20%, right, of their members that show up. But the Planet Fitness is packed with that amount of people showing up. So if they actually had everyone show up, or even 50% or 80%, they would have to raise their prices.
Yep.
Because
and then they would be moving closer to like a One Life or something like that.
Exactly. So the gamble they made was like, hold up, most people don't end up coming. So where's that break even point, And they found it, So that's where like I think the people in the middle are going to be screwed because you're either one of two type of people. Like you're one who's just wants the gym, and like you can go and get nice, fancy, shiny equipment, everything you need at a Planet Fitness for $10 a month, or you need a bigger investment, the help, the community, the coaching, and it's going to be a higher end product, right? So you're either one of two things, and this is with any business, like you're either the cheapest or you're the best, So now, in a way, like Planet Fitness has the best equipment too, but their service is not the best. Like you said, they punted a lot of stuff. So
yeah, it isn't that they have bad like people or staff. It's literally just that they choose not to offer, a bunch of the stuff that a lot of those like kind of middle price point facilities try to offer all of. And I get why they do that. They do. It's just trickier to be all things to all people, which is on the other end of the spectrum where CrossFit boxes and facilities like yours did an excellent job of going, okay, I'm not going to do 95% of the industry. I'm going to do 5%, and I'm going to do it better with better programming and better, trainers, and folks are going to pay a premium for that premium experience. And again, judging by growth and the overall like kind of boutique fitness industry, that was a good gamble too. Again, speaking internationally, Orange Theory is one of the fastest growing chains out there, right? Because they've ID'd that market and that price point, and CrossFit did a good job of this too. And they were right. People are willing to pay $100 to $200 a month if they feel like they get that focused, intentional experience and community that they're looking for.
Yeah, and I think for our listeners, what they can take away from this conversation is it's knowing like who you are, what you need, and that's kind of now how the fitness industry is broken up. Like there's no right or wrong like with any of the models. It's just it's like when you're buying a car, So, like there's a difference between a Planet Fitness and a Coastal Strength and Fitness, and like it's okay if one's more right for you.
Oh, absolutely, yeah,
for sure, yeah.
So
to some people, like all they need is like a place to work out, like, and they're good. They have all of the they have their programming set. They know what they're doing. They just, hey, I need some weights, and dude, Planet Fitness is absolutely perfect for that.
Yep,
it's a place where you can lift.
And honestly, the price point allows them to also have a Coastal Fitness membership too, if they wanted.
Yeah.
Honestly, they could do that, no problem.
Yeah, I mean, what's $10, dude? It's lunch one day.
Yeah, sure.
It's going to Chipotle, and that's it. So yeah, you're right. Like it gives people like that access of like I can go there whenever I want.
Yep. And what blows my mind is like now, at least out here in California, I see what's probably has to kill the mid-level Globo type gyms that try to do everything with all the group classes. Dude, I see they have just cycling studios out here for like $200 a month.
Yep.
You know,
And people pay.
So no, Raleigh's the same way. Flywheel and Soul Cycle and I just
So
blanked on the other one.
crazy.
Yeah, all over the place.
But dude,
So what
people
what
pay,
you're
man.
seeing is like, so I used to work at like the Gold's Gym, Globo Gym, and they would have yoga classes, cycling classes, body pump classes, right? All part of the membership, but they're all kind of watered down, right? Like you're seeing people would rather go pay a premium for just a yoga studio, just a cycling studio, just a boutique training resistance class, so, or go pay $10 a month for just access to equipment. So then where does that leave that $40 a month who tried to do everything but kind of doesn't do it as good as the best in each market?
You're shrinking. That's what it is.
Yeah.
I mean, that's literally the challenge, to really try to find a way to offer that for those kind of like the middle 75% of facilities. They have to figure out how can we truly offer that full-blown yoga experience or group cycle experience or whatever it is, and it's almost impossible. You could make the argument that Lifetime Fitness does an excellent job of literally offering those 4 or 5 or 6 different boutique offerings within a giant health club. But don't forget, Lifetime's price point is up near the top again. You're up over $100 a month.
They're $100.
They're 80 to for a family. It's closer to $200 a month, right? And so you're back in that price point though. So yeah, you're going to get that experience, but you're also going to pay for it. And so again, back for that middle 75% of facilities, that's the challenge, right? Like how can we? And they kind of have to pick, right? If you're $30 to $50 a month, there's just no way that you can afford to do everything, all the boutiques, all the time, right? It's just next to impossible. So then you have to really focus.
Pick 2, whatever it may be.
Yeah. And because it comes down to people, right? Like who's going to get the best yoga instructor? The boutique yoga studio or the Globo gym. So I think the people gets overlooked. The quality of coaching and the caring and all that. That's the biggest difference. So, but yeah. So hopefully. I know we could talk about this stuff on and on and on.
I could talk about this for like 4 or 5 hours.
Yes.
We could just dig in.
We'll take you wherever you want to go.
Forrest, where's the market for shoeless movement ninjas?
Well, to my knowledge, there's not a ton of those boutiques in Raleigh yet, and I don't know of any in Charlotte yet. So there might be an opportunity here for us to break into a new market here.
Yeah, keep your eyes open for this barefoot technology stuff. People are going to start coming out with this stuff that's basically enabling barefoot, but just like kind of fostering to it. There's some proprioceptive soles that are starting to come out and actually starting to boom a little bit. Yeah,
it's going to be the new jam.
What was that word? Can you spell that for me?
Which one? Yeah, no, it's like Nabisco, I think, is the company, because that's a cookie or something along that line.
Nabisco?
Naboso or something.
Okay, all right.
Yeah. It's coming.
And to circle back around for us to like your transition from pro athlete to father of 2, husband, and training, like what do you think is one nugget of advice for people who are into this fitness thing for life, like to kind of to take with them?
One nugget of advice, I think it's just to be as honest with yourself as you can, right? Like to just really understand, what your strengths and your weaknesses are, and then what's one thing that you can do, every week or every month, something else that you can do to kind of improve a little bit. Like, for me, it was adding in a different type of movement prep to my workouts when I start out, just doing actually Megan, my wife, is the one that showed it to me with just different mobility things to kind of prep your body for the move that you're doing. So like just one thing, and so I being where you're not strong, and then being willing to make some small changes. And even if that's what's hard about change, right, is you're not going to be good at it right away. So for me, being willing to take a step back, I kind of ID where I think I can possibly improve, and then be willing to kind of take a step or 2 back to hopefully take 3 or 4 steps forward, after you're able to implement it and get a little bit more efficient with whatever if that's a movement or if it's a type of training. And obviously it's also to be willing to give things up. Like I'm still not happy that I don't, get to try power cleans because they still just look so stinking cool on Instagram, right? But I have not attempted one in a few months because I just don't think like you were talking about, I just don't think the benefit definitely, does not outweigh the cost of doing business, so to speak, there. So that being honest with yourself and then being willing to take a step back to take a couple steps forward in a month or two.
Nice. Great advice. I know Ben's chuckling. We just talked about this the other day. The whole, it's how hard it is to take a couple step backs to go forward.
Yeah.
It is. Always will be.
True.
All right. Well, we'll leave you guys with that. Thanks again, Forrest, for coming on.
My pleasure. Thanks for having me, guys.
Yeah, appreciate that.
Awesome. All right. We'll catch you guys next week.
Later.
Bye.
As always, thanks for listening, guys. If you want to learn more, check us out at coastalfitnessva.com or garydeagle.com. We'll see you next time.